everybody, welcome to the first video on the Smyer Channel. The title, of course, you clicked on is Smyerhistorix. You probably already know what it's about. It's about the history of Smyer. We're going to go over the founding of it, the current, present, and what's been happening around there, and we're going to go over some of the cool people I've met in Smyer, and that kind of basic thing. So let's get started. Okay, so first off, Smyer was founded in 1970. To anybody who doesn't know, if you think it's 1925, you're wrong. It's 1917. It says it on the documents, or not the documents, it says it on Wikipedia. I've also researched it. It was founded in 1917. Just to clarify that, it was founded in 1917. So, to get confusion out of the way. Now, who founded it exactly? Everybody questions that. Who founded the town? Who created such a place? And that person is Clinton Eugene Smyer. He was a superintendent for the Santa Fe Railroad, and he worked on, railroads and traveled train, that kind of thing. So when he founded it, he intended it for just to be a pit stop, a farming stop, and that kind of thing. But what had happened is he had a store, a gin, a post office, and just a bunch of farmers were there. They that kind of. Okay, you won't believe what I just found. Oh my god, this book is insane. Okay. Screw the presentation. We're going into this book. Oh my god, there's so much information here. I gotta show you this. Alright, so we have the Hockley County book. Okay, let me read this part. It says, in the fall of 1957, Byron Terrell was superintendent, and an extensive new school program was built. The school building program was begun. So they started it in 57. Okay. The high school was remodeled with a new auditorium, a new home economics department, a gymnasium. This was a school building program. Look at that number. $250 million. $1,000. That's $2 million now. Like, what? And then it says, when the school was completed, open house, it was held by a Congressman, George Manhan, and Senator Preston Smith for guest speaker. Not only that, it says that they were given new enthusiasm because the school was modern enough to have air conditioning and, what does that say? Carpet? What? And it was the first in the county to have this modern kind of stuff. Are you serious? Dude, that's crazy. There's no way, man. Okay, yeah, for whatever. And then we have the Sims, of course. As you see, they're in the county. They came in like 1930s, blah blah blah. Then we go over here. Yo, wait, let me see. What's that say? There's a Travis Scott in Smyer, or there was in Smyer, a Travis Scott. Man, that's the funniest thing I've seen in like all my life. Oh my god. Then there's the Fowler, Taylor. Oh my lord. Okay, over here. Alright. Mr. and Mrs. T.A. Wolam moved to Smyer in the early fall of 25. I knew it. Everybody knows that. They operated a grocery store. I knew it. And lived in the living quarters in the back of the store. Knew that too. Mr. and Mrs. Wolam had 3 sons, Marvin, Rawson, and Maurice. Marvin died, Rawson died, and Maurice died. The sons did not move to the Smyer community, of course, at the same time as Mr. and Mrs. Wolam. However, the following February 1926, Mr. Wolam returned to Oklahoma and moved 2 of the sons to West Texas. Marvin Wolam and wife Hazel lived in, what's that say? Burlington, Oklahoma. And Rawson lived in El Reno, Oklahoma. I think that's how you say it. They arrived in Smyer on February 26, 1926, in a typical West Texas sandstorm. That sucks. Mr. and Mrs. Marvin Wolam rented new sod land south of Smyer and farmed. They had 5 children. One son, okay, here we go. One son, James, deceased at the age of 7 months. Oh. The oldest son, Otis, graduated from Smyer High School and was in the Army 4 years and now lives in Abilene, so he was alive in this time because this is 70. Texas, Thomas and Virgil in the implement business in Morton, Texas. And the youngest son, what's his name? Oh, Lonnie is manager of the United Supermarket in Loveland. Oh, that's cool. That's pretty cool. Mrs. Marvin Wollum, deceased August 10th, 1971, is buried in Smyer Cemetery, as is her son James. Oh. Rawson Wollum began working in Lubbock after moving to Wexington. He was married in 1929 to Christine Rampy. Christine Rampy? Hold on. Christine? Christine? God. And they have one son, Gerald Wollum of Lubbock. So he must be alive somewhere. Maurice Wollum and his wife, Newell, I think is how you say it, came to the Hockley County in 27 and taught school at the Hodge Community School. Their oldest son, Darrell, died in 1965 after many years with the Border Patrol. Their second son is with the government in technical work, and the daughter and her husband teach at A&M in Bryan, Texas. T.A. Wollum, deceased August 10th, 1951. Mr. T.A. Wollum, deceased 1964. Both buried in Smyer Cemetery. Aw, how sweet.
5 minutes later.
Alright, I've done some reading, and, yeah. I already finished this paragraph, and I read this, and, the Howards wrote this book. And, they came to Smyer, too. They passed through Earlwood, blah, 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 bought a house on the north side of the farm. W. Scott, who lived north of Lubbock at the time, helped with my father sold land on north of the farm. Her right of way, blah, blah. 2 days after we moved into our house, the Santa Fe crews began to pass by building the railroad. It was really a sight to see the train entering, lowering the rails to the cross tie, and the workmen hammering the spikes through the rails into cross tie. Later, a depot, it says a depot, were built. Or not a depot, later a depot, a section foreman's house, and an agent's house were built, and the little town was named Smyer for Clinton E. Smyer, a former division superintendent for the Santa Fe Railroad at Clovis, New Mexico. B.C. May was the first section foreman, and there were several. They were there and was there several years. We live in a denial. We moved to the cotton crop. Sunday afternoons, we get into the Vermonte, take our 2 greyhounds, and chase these big jackrabbits. The first we ever seen. We also chased coyotes at night. We would listen to Dallas and Fort Worth over our small box radio. We had the one set of earphones. We had to take turns to listen. Our uncle had bought the radio in 23. Mother bought some groceries at the general store in Smyer. But most Saturdays we drove to Lubbock, went to a movie, bought groceries in August of 25, and Mr. Hugh below and blah 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 appearance. About Hugh. Worked for him, breaking out much of the land in the Smyer community that the summer. They came home from each evening and were always anxious to know how many rattlesnakes they had killed. That's cute. So, yeah. A Man store, general store, owned by August Mann, and a real estate agent's house, which Reed Mark, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, it's just talking about these guys who, yeah, by Mr. and Mrs. T.A. Wollum, which found family rooms on one side. Streets were marked off for a town site, and the 3 buildings were on the main street. Mr. and Mrs. Frank Kerr moved to the to the community in 1920. They bought a grocery store, filling station, and motel. Their children were Fred, Amy, and Rue. By September, a number of families had bought farms and built houses on them. A 2-room school building was moved there from a location between Smyer and Wolford. The Loveland Highway at the time was 1 mile north of us, and we walked across the field to our mailbox to get our mail on Star Route, Lubbock, Texas. There were 6 families already living in the community when we moved there. Mr. and Mrs. J. L. Huddleston lived 1 mile east of us. They moved there in 24. Their children were Ivy, Barney, Roy, Claudine, and Richard. Mr. and Mrs. C. M. Floyd living 2 miles east of Wentworth. They moved there in 1924. Their children were Lavita, Wallace, Roy, and Welda. Mr. and Mrs. J. M. DePaul lived in 1 mile east and 3 miles south of us. They moved there and had these children, and they had their children. So there's Tom Arnott as a ranch foreman. They lived in the 2-story house, and there was a bunkhouse where the cowboys lived. A schoolhouse opened in 26 in the new brick school building. There was 2 school buses. My father and Clyde DePaul drove them. One taking the south route and the other taking the north. So basically, it's just people Smyer moved here. They had an impact and stuff. But I do recommend you get this book. This book is pretty cool. Has a lot on it. Don't know why I'm covering my face. Oh, my balls. All right. Pretty weird way to end off a video, but thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy the history behind Smyer, I tried to get it a historical presentation, but with a little more comical kind of stuff in it. A little more funny stuff. So, hope you enjoyed the video. And I will see you in the next one. I think the next one will be an interview. So make sure to look out for that, and I'll see you all later.